All right, look, if you're one of those people who still thinks, I don't need to kick because I'm saving my legs for the bike and the run, congrats. You're living in 2003. Today, it's just me on another solo episode, and I'm going off on the kick. Why people avoid it, why it actually matters, and how your legs are more than just dead weight dragging behind you. I'll break it all down. What to do, what not to do, and how to stop kicking like a robot. If you're into swimming, triathlon, or just figuring your body out in the water, this one's gonna hit. And hey, if you like it, share it, subscribe it, and maybe leave a review. This should help other people find the pod, and I really appreciate it. Let's get weird about legs. All right, it's just me again on the pod talking about swimming by myself. Well, I'm by myself talking about swimming. I'm not going to talk about swimming alone. Last solo cast, I dove into something that I know and really focus on a lot with my athletes, which was breathing. For this one, I wanted to talk about something that's, I think, really important to talk about, but also something that a lot of people overlook or quite don't understand and avoid, which is kicking. And it sounds crazy to me to say out loud that people avoid kicking, but I think it comes from, back in the time of like early 2000s, Total Immersion was, becoming very, very popular. And the thought of I need to conserve my kick for the bike and the run was very prevalent and is becoming less prevalent. People are understanding that legs have a role in your swimming, and it isn't to just let them drag behind you. I often think about a flutter kick during freestyle almost as like the equivalent to your arms swinging while you run. Try to run with your arms down by your side, or better yet, try to run with your arms overhead just waving all over the place. It's not going to go very well for you, right? So if you avoid working on your kick because you're trying to learn how to conserve energy, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. If you learn how to kick properly, you learn how to control your kick so that the output is reduced or minimal, and then you gain all of the benefit of what your legs provide, balance-wise and activation-wise. So let's break that thought down. In freestyle, we do what is known as a flutter kick. A flutter kick, I think, is best defined as feet, ankles, calves, knees all pass by each other as you kick up and down. There's a down kick and an up kick to a flutter kick. The way that our pelvises are designed and built to be on land, walking or running, if you stick one leg forward, you automatically have one leg back. And conversely, if you stick a leg back, you automatically have one leg forward. So if you take that thought and apply it to kicking while you swim, the goal should not be to kick downward at all. The priority in swimming is the reduction of drag. So if I kick and my leg goes lower than my pelvis, I'm going to cause drag. I'm specifically talking about a flutter kick or a freestyle approach with a flutter kick for distance swimming or endurance swimming. If we were doing a 50 sprint or a 100 sprint, that kick is going to be larger. It is going to cause more drag, but it also is going to be for a very short period of time where you can have a huge burst of energy. So we never really want our legs to go lower than our pelvis if we're swimming a 200 yards, 200 meters, or up, right? We want our down kick to stop in line with our pelvis. And so I think for a lot of people, you have to anticipate that. You can't try to stop the kick at your pelvis. You have to kind of stop it before it gets there, which makes it a very small movement. So the easier approach is to just focus on the up kick. The next time you go to the pool, before you swim, or maybe after you warm up and you're standing in the shallow end, place your hands on the surface of the water, just barely touching the surface. And if you kind of bounce your hands on the surface, you'll feel the water bouncing your hands back up. It's if your kick, or your hands in this instance, are helping, or the water's being helped or helping your hands push up and down because the water is also helping with that motion. But if you take your hands and put them, I don't know, 2 to 3 inches below the surface, that effect does not happen anymore. And then you take your hands and put them another 2 to 3 inches below the surface. Now we're at like 5 or 6 inches below the surface. You can feel the dense water and how much harder it is for you to move your hands. So while we're kicking for an endurance event, I would highly suggest that kick should be above the surface and at the surface. The goal of the kick is always to generate vertical propulsion. That means the propulsion that your legs provide lift your legs. It does not move you forward. If you want your kick to move you forward, you would have to change the way that you kick. Maybe kick a little bit deeper. That would help move you forward to an extent. Maybe bend at your knee at a certain point, and that could help move you forward. But that's not really the job of the kick right now, right? The job of your kick is really to help keep you in a hydrodynamic position, to keep you high up on the surface. So if we keep our feet at the surface and we try to think about lifting our feet up, the leg that goes down doesn't go down very far. It is a skill to learn and to practice to make sure that you don't kick deep, but you kick up. Now, this also can cause some other issues depending on our mobility and flexibility. For instance, the human leg, as it attaches to the hip, is kind of like a long lever. And if you don't have great hip strength or mobility, it's very likely you're going to lift that leg up more from your lower back than your actual hip. And that's going to cause a lot of problems, right? We don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want any injuries, especially lower back injuries, because that affects every movement that we make day to day. But also, because it kind of turns on the lower back, it does two things. It lifts people's chests open and almost puts them in a banana shape. But as that lower back is engaged, it turns on your back extenders, and it actually makes your legs separate a little bit. And so when your legs separate, you're using the outside of your hips to kick, which is your abductors, abductors, right? Runners, cyclists usually have really strong, well-developed abductors. And there's a reason, potentially, that somebody who is a good runner and a good cyclist gets into the water and starts arching their back and letting their legs separate. It's because it's those muscles that they're used to using. So in swimming, we use our adductors to swim. So think of it as if you add your legs together, you're pressing your upper thighs together, you're adding them together, we're using our adductors. Now this is actually really cool. Your adductors help turn on the front of your core. So it helps you stay in a more streamlined, I'm going to call it hydrodynamic because it's not really a streamlined position, but it makes you stay a little bit more hydrodynamic. It helps turn on that front core, and that front core turning on actually helps you stay up closer to the surface. It is a really cool little tip. I think it's the most powerful thing that you're going to hear today on this podcast. Put your legs together and actively squeeze them together, and as they're kicking up and down, you should be trying to chafe your inner thighs together. This action, helping you keep your lower core engaged, does help you float better. And this is crucial for somebody who does a lot of running and a lot of biking, because typically they have more muscle in their legs than their upper body. And so their lower half, which already doesn't float, is going to float even less. So to sort of combat low legs for, we'll say, dense muscle through the legs, as simple as it sounds, squeezing your legs together as you kick does actually help. It's amazing. So try it the next time you go swim. It could change your swimming. It definitely helps keep your posture better in swimming as well. Swimming is a full body exercise, so the idea that we would not be kicking doesn't really jive with the way swimming works. So, as a coach, I perceive my job to interpret science and not just follow science blindly. And this is really important because all science models are demonstrating that a straight leg, a perfectly straight leg, is the most hydrodynamic leg position that someone can use when they kick. And yes, on paper, that is absolutely true. But in reality, you're a human being that has weaknesses and dysfunctions and joints and injuries. So, if you keep your leg perfectly straight while you kick, you will absolutely hurt yourself. You'll hurt a knee, you'll hurt a hip, you'll hurt a lower back, all right? So there has to be some accommodation for anatomy, everyone's anatomy in general, but then also some accommodation for the individual and what works best for that individual. So there is some nuance to kicking, but for most people, it is generalized. While kicking, it is okay if you bend a knee on the up kick, meaning your leg is going up towards the surface, and if the knee bends just a little bit to help get the foot to break the surface, and then the leg goes back to a straight line, you're fine. That is actually very hydrodynamic. Surface tension is very easy for us to travel through, so if you bend your knee there, you're not going to cause significant amounts of drag at all in that position. But if you bend your knee down, almost like a running motion, that's where the concept of don't bend your knees comes from. That's going to be really detrimental to everyone swimming. Not only are you not going to be able to generate propulsion with that type of kick, but also you're causing a ton of drag because you put that leg underneath you versus behind you, right? So we want to make sure you can bend a knee on the way up. You cannot bend a knee on the way down. Knees have to straighten on the way down. And I would even go as far to say, we don't ever straighten our knee to 100% extension. We should be aiming for something like 90% extension. Think about it. It's basically inertia, right? If you're kicking and your knee goes to 100% extension and you basically lock that knee out, there's still energy going through your leg. And so it hits that stop point with your knee, but it actually continues to travel a couple more inches down. So we want to stop that by not letting your leg fully extend, and maybe 90 to 95% extension should work. Let's talk about feet. I think feet are often not understood in kicking, at least in a flutter kick. So we're pressing our inner thighs together. Our legs are going to be close together. The ideal position for feet are to be slightly turned inward from your ankles. And a big caveat to from your ankles. If you're turning your feet in from your femur or your hip, you're going to cause problems through your hip. And it's not really correcting what turning your foot in does from your ankle. When you turn your foot in from your ankle, it does, I think, two pretty cool things. It does provide a little bit more surface area for your foot to be a better paddle. So that's always helpful. The other part is when we're kicking, there's this common cue of point your toes. Well, that's not necessarily accurate. It's shorthand for coaches on a pool deck who only have a couple of seconds to yell to a swimmer to fix something, right? Pointing your toes really is like more like arching your foot. What we're really trying to do is extend an ankle, but also keep that extended ankle loose and floppy, like you're trying to kick a flip-flop off. So if we have our ankles turned inward slightly, and we keep them somewhat loose and floppy, as we do our down kick, the water kind of helps keep our foot in an extended position. But then as we do our up kick, because your ankle is limited mobility in that position, it doesn't allow for your foot to flex on the up kick. The water won't push your foot down, basically. So if you have your ankle straight as you push your foot back up, the water will push your foot down more into a flexed position. So then you're losing that opportunity. So if you turn your ankles in, there is a bigger chance that you will kick your own foot or you'll kick your big toes, and that's okay. Just be careful that you don't kick the arch of your foot. Trust me, been there, done it many times. It will just cause a cramp usually, right? So we don't want you to cramp up. It's going to happen maybe every once in a while that you just kind of have a missed kick and you end up kicking the arch of your foot and you cramp up. But if your big toes kind of touch periodically, it's kind of helpful. It gives you an idea of the frequency or the range that you're giving your foot. If it takes you a long time for your big toes to touch each other, well, then you know your kick is probably a little bit too big. I like to sort of invoke the image of a Pomeranian walking down the street when I think about my kick, just really small and tight, not necessarily powerful, but that is something that has to be worked on. I see it all the time in beginner swimmers in that they don't understand the difference between working hard and working small. For a lot of people, they try to work small by moving fast. And the faster you move in the water, what happens? The more resistance is built. And the more resistance it is, the harder you start kicking. And so something that was intended to be easy becomes very hard very quickly. So the trick is to try to figure out, how do you pare down from the hard work to the controlled work? There's a couple of different ways to do this. My personal favorite, not everyone's favorite, but my personal favorite is to do a really simple set of 25 freestyle with really slow arms. The slowest you can move your arms without stopping them. You're not allowed to pause them. But then trying to kick 12 kicks per stroke. And then the next 25, slow arms, 10 kicks per stroke. The next 25, slow arms, 8 kicks per stroke. The next 25, 6 kicks per stroke. Arms might feel pretty normal at this point. The next 25, 4 kicks per stroke. You'll start to gain some coordination from your arms and your legs and gain better control. And also, this will jack your heart rate up. So it's a great little drill / warm-up speed set right before you get into a main set, actually. Kicking on your side. Doing any kick on your side is going to be beneficial. It's going to help you connect to your legs from your core. It'll help strengthen your legs as well, because when we're kicking on our side, we don't have surface tension breaking, so we don't get a moment of relaxation or reprieve from breaking the surface. So you have to work a little bit harder. The bottom leg, when you kick on your side, is responsible for moving more water or more pressure than the top leg, because it is deeper and it's in denser water. So make sure you work that bottom leg. That bottom leg also should be trying to be pressing up into the thigh of the top leg to help support this concept that our legs are squeezing together as we swim. If you're doing any of your kicking work on a kickboard, you're probably doing yourself a disservice. Kickboards do not put us into a position that we normally swim in, and it outright isolates our legs. The goal of working on your kick should be not to isolate your kick, but to understand how your kick works with your overall stroke. So if you're a pure beginner, you're brand new to swimming, yes, you will absolutely need to isolate your kick and gain that coordination a little bit. But at some point, we have to progress and we have to understand that our kick, the work that we do to improve our kick, is supposed to work its way seamlessly into our freestyle. Freestyle is dynamic. We're rotating, we're in different planes when we're swimming freestyle. And so for a lot of people, as they go to transition from side to middle to side, they lose their posture, they arch their back, and their legs splay, or they take one really big kick, right? This is a weakness or a dysfunction through that person's core and through their pelvis. It can be, we'll say, exaggerated through a bad arm stroke or bad core posture, but ultimately it's a dysfunction through the pelvis where the adductors aren't helping very much and the abductors take over. This is part of the reason why also Lissa and I really believe in Pilates to help endurance athletes and swimmers so much, because it does help strengthen the inside of your hips and the outside of your hips, and it helps create this balance that we need in swimming versus what we get from running and cycling, right? So if your kick is splaying while you swim, it could be a postural issue. It could be a pelvis issue. It could be an arm stroke issue. It also could be an approach issue, meaning for a lot of triathletes or people who just kind of grew up running or cycling a lot, they're going to be lower dominant athletes. I'm one of them. I grew up running a lot. And even in swimming, when I was swimming competitively, I was a backstroker because I had really strong kick. I had really strong legs. Because of this, I've had to retrain my body and my nervous system to rely on my arms more than my legs. You will also have to do that. Your legs, even though you want to use them a lot, do not cause rotation. And so sometimes what people do when they're stronger through their legs is they'll take one really big kick to help them switch over to their side as they rotate and they swim. But their legs should not be helping them do that. The goal of the legs is to stay behind the pelvis. Your legs do help you rotate, but not in one big push. Basically, if you take one kick to help you rotate, it's probably more like supposed to take you 3 kicks to help you rotate that were smaller and more frequent. I like to invoke the image for my swimmers that just below their feet at the flat spot of their swim are a pair of bongo drums. And at 45 degrees on the right side of their feet is another pair of bongo drums. And at 45 degrees on the left side of their feet is another pair of bongo drums. And as they swim, they have to try to kick and play the bongo drums through the rotation, through the flat spot, through the other side, and just trying to find their best impression of Ricardo. Babaloo, right? So think about that the next time you go swim. Maybe you can't maintain it for very long right now, but that doesn't mean it's detrimental to you. That means you have a weakness and you just need to shore that weakness up. Make yourself a little bit better that way. The kick and the core have to always work together. So when you do any kicking work, do it off of a board, do it on your side, do it flat on your stomach, use a snorkel if you're on your stomach. If you're on your stomach and you need a breath, you could just take one freestyle stroke and then keep going. And you take that stroke, it's an opportunity for you to work your kick into the breath and your arm stroke. That drill that I mentioned earlier, the 25s, that drill isn't about just separating slow arms and fast feet. It's helping you understand how your legs interact with the rest of your body as you swim freestyle. And this is true understanding. And this true understanding gives you so much more insight to your body and how it moves through the water. Avoiding your kick is only going to lead to heartache and frustration. And I will go out on a limb here, having worked with so many athletes of different ages and abilities and coming from all over the place. Everybody can improve their kick. I can say this with confidence because I have worked with people who believe they could not improve their kick. And it did take them a very long time. I'm talking like a good solid year to year and a half. But they were dedicated to it. They worked on it. It slowed their swimming down for that year to year and a half. But once they got it all worked out, their swimming didn't just get faster, they became more efficient in swimming distances, greater distances, more easily. It is worth the work. Most people listening to this podcast are doing triathlon for fitness and fun and to keep motivated. You're probably not going to go pro. You might, but you're probably not. So take the time while you're in the water to learn something and be curious about this approach so that you walk away not feeling just better fitness. You walk away feeling like you understand yourself and you understand something beyond just working out. All right. If you have any questions about your kick, about how to improve your kick, or if you just want to sort of question anything I said on this podcast, shoot me a DM, Instagram, Facebook, Try Swim Coach, leave a comment, whatever. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to help anybody work on their kick. Until next time, keep kicking, keep swimming. I'll talk to you guys later.